Hello, I'm really glad to be able to share some thoughts with you today. This COVID-19 pandemic, which has been causing so much suffering and an economic chaos around the world, unfortunately, it has diverted attention away from an even greater threat to our future, and that is climate change. Everywhere we see the devastation caused by changing weather patterns, melting ice, rising sea levels, more of the worst hurricanes and typhoons, terrible droughts, floods and fires. The tragedy we've brought this upon ourselves by our disrespect of the natural world. Our reckless burning of fossil fuels, along with the destruction of forests, releases massive amounts of carbon dioxide, one of the main greenhouse gases that trap the heat of the sun. There are few habitats that we haven't polluted and plundered, and this has had a devastating effect on biodiversity. We are responsible for the sixth great extinction of plant and animal life. So it's desperately important to invest in protecting forests, planting trees, restoring habitats, including the ocean. Intensive agriculture. It uses huge amounts of fossil fuel, destroys the soil with chemical fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides. So it's terribly important to encourage small-scale family farms, permaculture, regenerative agriculture and organic foods. We must reduce and eventually eliminate our reliance on fossil fuels and strive for a carbon-neutral economy. Already, science is providing innovative technologies to provide renewable energy, tides, winds, solar, and it's so important that investors should support and governments subsidize these and other such innovations. Another major problem is our disrespect for animals. Intensive animal farming is devastating the environment. The billions of animals have to be fed, land cleared to grow grain, and a great deal of precious water is used to change plant to animal protein. And during digestion, all of these billions of animals produce methane, a virulent greenhouse gas. Finally, the typical cruel, unhygienic conditions of these factory farms pose a major threat to human health. They provide conditions that have led to many zoonotic diseases, those caused by pathogens jumping from an animal to a human. Clearly, we need to move towards a plant-based diet. It's our disrespect for and closer contact with wild animals that has also led to many zoonotic diseases. We invade and destroy their habitats and hunt, kill, eat and traffic them or their body parts. They're sold for meat, medicine or their skins in wildlife markets. All this can provide opportunity for the creation of new diseases. For example, the bushmeat markets of Africa led to HIV/AIDS and Ebola, and the wildlife markets of Asia to SARS and COVID-19. Some countries have now closed down wildlife markets, and there are many groups working to end the lucrative wildlife trafficking business, including the growing demand for exotic animal pets. And we can all play our part by spreading awareness and helping to reduce demand. One silver lining of the current pandemic is that many people are now realizing we must develop a new relationship with the natural world and move to a new green and sustainable economy. It's illogical to desire unlimited economic development on a planet with finite natural resources and a growing human population. Already in some places, we're using up nature's resources faster than nature can replenish them. And now there are 7.2 billion of us, with around 9.7 billion predicted for 2050. Clearly, if we carry on with business as usual, our once beautiful planet will resemble the dead landscape of the moon. The unsustainable lifestyle of the wealthy is not the only factor harming the environment. Those living in poverty cut down the last trees, fish the last fish, in their desperation to grow more food or make some money. We can choose. They can't. It became clear to me in the late 1980s that the only way to protect habitats and wildlife is to work with local communities and help them find ways of making a living without destroying their environment. JGI has been working on sustainable development projects around chimpanzee forest habitats in Africa since 1994, working to empower women with microcredit opportunities that enable them to start their own environmentally sustainable businesses, providing scholarships to girls for secondary education and offering family planning information. All around the world, it's been shown that educating and empowering women tends to lead to smaller families. They want to provide good education for their children, and they can't afford to do this for large families. The people understand that protecting the environment is not just for wildlife, but for their own future. And villagers have been trained to use smartphones to monitor the health of their forests with GIS and GPS technology. They've become our partners in conservation. Trees have returned to land that had been totally deforested 30 years ago. As people rise from forest poverty, they naturally aspire to the very unsustainable lifestyles that we are trying to reduce. One way to address this is through environmental education. It should be part of every school curriculum in all countries. I'm inspired by the commitment of young people when they understand the problems and are empowered to choose and work on projects that help to heal the planet. Young children especially should have plenty of outdoor experience, because it's when you get to know and love nature that you will work to protect it. One last word: each one of us makes an impact on the planet every day. Let's think about the consequences for our children and theirs of the choices we make now. What do we buy? How is it made? Did it harm the environment or animals? Is it cheap because of child slave labor or inequitable wages? If so, don't buy it. Consumer pressure works. Let's regain the wisdom that comes when head and heart work in harmony. And let's get together now around the world to tackle the problems we've created before it's too late.